Thanks very much, all.
Thank you, Mr. Wall. Thank you, Mr. Rowe. Thank you, Mr. Rowe. Keep it short. Now invite Mr. Colonel Charles, former Minister of Labour and Social Security, to assist with two presentations. Mr. Charles. Our next recipient is Mr. Giovanni Phipps, Chief Delegate at the Shipping Association of Jamaica. Mr. Phipps.
Congratulations. Thank you on your work.
Thank you very much.
Our next recipient is in Banking and Finance, Mr. Claude Doyley of Scotiabank, Jamaica. Mr. Doyley.
Congratulations, Mr. Doyle.
You're welcome, sir.
Thanks very much.
Thank you to Mr. Doyle. Mr. Doyle has been a permanent fixture at the BITU. We are really grateful for his services. Mr. Stone, our long-standing trustee, can you come forward, sir? Our next recipient is someone from the area where the BITU was physically born, in Sugar. And this will be presented to Mr. Fernando Edwards. Can I invite Mr. Fernando Walker, I'm sorry. Mr. Fernando Walker to come forward. Mr. Walker. And this will be made by Mr. Clifton Stone, one of our trustees.
Congratulations and thanks for all the service and keep it up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. The next presentation of appreciation will be to Mr. Israel Smith, popularly known as Dudu. He has been around the BITU forever. Mr. Smith, can you come to the podium, please? Israel Smith, construction. Yeah, man, you know. Mr. Smith, can you come, sir, please?
Congratulations. It's my pleasure to make this presentation.
I just said thank you.
God a God. God a God.
Our next presentation will be made by the president of the BITU, and this goes to easily one of our most dynamic female delegates in the hotel. And I refer to Miss Argeline Legister, Chief Delegate at Tropical Bay in Rio Negril. Miss Legister.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to say thanks to the chair board and all of us who is here. And I really want to encourage all the delegates, work very hard. We face a lot of discrimination at times and embarrassment, but we're gonna strive and work hard and be the winner like Mr. Holness. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Audrey. Thank you very much. And our final presentation goes to an outstanding delegate in communication. And I have the pleasure to invite Miss Dahlia Campbell to the podium. She's from Lyme for accepting her award. Miss Campbell.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I want to emphasize this. Not one of these 8 delegates knew. None of them knew. None of them knew. And I want to extend, on behalf of the MEC, our sincere appreciation for their outstanding services and look forward to many more years of service from these delegates.
There's an expression that if there is silence, it is because you're quiet. And if there's quiet, it is because you are silent. Well, this afternoon, I don't intend to be silent. And there is absolutely no need to be quiet. In fact, in 1935, Sir Alexander Bustamante once said, and I quote, "Everyone is a citizen, whether by birth or naturalization, has a perfect right to open his mouth and let his voice be heard just as loud as any taxpayer," unquote. Well, today, the voice of the workers will be heard. We wish to start by reminding the public at large that this year marks our 75th anniversary of the birth of the Bustamante Industrial Trade Union, which was founded by our great leader, Sir Alexander Bustamante. Jamaica is one of the developing countries whose evolution and growth has been generated by relentless trade union activity under the leadership of Sir Alexander, backed by the confidence of the mass of Jamaican working class, and a loyal band of committed lieutenants who shared his vision and commitment. The union carried the struggle for improved working and living conditions against fearful odds during the dreadful pre-independence period, where there was no protective laws, no premium pay, sick leave entitlement, or any of the long list of benefits in place today, not to mention job security. It was the change at the time that defined the period in the history of our country, and the political, economic, and social changes that ensued brought radical changes to Jamaica. For most of the past 3 decades, Jamaica has suffered from very low economic growth, high public debt, and serious social challenges. As a result, we have an unstable debt burden, low competitiveness, a weak business environment, a lack of policy credibility, and an absence of the will to implement critical structural reforms. Achieving high and sustained growth is key to improving the welfare of the Jamaican worker, the Jamaican people, and fundamental to ensuring the country's economic stability. Today, I'm here to tell you all that changing is not an option for us as a nation. We must change, and we must effect the change now. For years, we have been doing things in a particular way, operating on a post-colonial model and with scant regard to the international market of this global world, attempting to employ simplistic solutions for what are complex ideas. We have been operating against a model where any change we pursue is dictated by the whims and fancies of political parties, operating in a highly technological age where we are awash with information, know what changes must be effected, but due to a highly centralized political system, it is difficult to implement the change which is necessary. Not nearly enough is paid to concepts such as productivity, but we are all aware that sustainable growth is measured by productivity levels in all countries that have enjoyed economic growth. We talk about change, but lack the will to effect same. Instead, we play the proverbial blame game. It is because of this. It is because of him. It's because of this political party or that political party. And in the meanwhile, we continue to borrow ourselves into trillions of dollars of debt to support a lifestyle that is not supported by our productivity, not supported by our policies, not supported by what we demonstrate as our ability to properly manage the economic growth of our country. Well, wake up. We must change now to ensure our survival. We have no time to waste, and there is no waiting till tomorrow. Wake up. It is time to effect the radical changes now. If you ask yourself, what is this urgent need for change? You may be one of those who are sleeping. But let me give you a brief post-independence overview of where we are as a nation. Estimates suggest that some 500,000 persons in Jamaica live below the poverty line. And this includes many persons who are employed. With a population of just under 3 million persons, we are talking about in the excess of 17%. Between 2007 to 2012, our average inflation per capita exceeded 11.5%. That means, on average, it cost every single Jamaican more than 11.5% more to purchase the same amount of food, goods, and services it has cost the previous year. It is estimated that only 17% of our labor force is trained, which means that in excess of 800,000 are not trained, and only 144,000 of those who have degrees. Here enters Chinese and other migrant workers, and there goes our jobs. We have the third highest migration of people with 12 years of education. This is how we end up with an undereducated, untrained workforce. We have a national debt of $1.57 trillion. This is a debt that the country owes, a debt that you will have to pay. Per capita income has not changed for the last 40 years. As a nation, we have been living off the same budget for 40 years. Annual productivity is less than 1% per year. Put that in the context that a recession is characterized by annual productivity of 3/4 of less than that 1%. And you will realize that for in excess of 40 years, we have technically been in recession. Total factor productivity, which must precede any thought of natural economic growth, continues to fall by an average of 1.74% every year. Unlike some capitalists suggest, this is not simply a factor of lazy workers. It is impacted by everything we do, how we use capital, how we use energy, how we manage our resources. What is for sure is that an annual 1.74% decrease in total factor productivity is not sustainable. You start by understanding the urgency for the change. Do you think that against all these factors, it is reasonable for us to expect to miraculously see a turnaround to national growth? They say insanity is consistently doing the same thing, the same way, and expecting a different result. Colleagues, we need to change now. And that is why our theme for this, our 75th year of existence, is rooted in a turnaround to national growth, advocating for radical changes. This theme is an appeal to the workers, the employers, the government, the opposition, civil society, and Jamaica in general to recognize that we must collectively take a leap of faith in the pursuit of a turnaround plans towards national growth. We need to change. We need to turn around, and we need to head towards that growth. The main pillars of our campaign have been a call for structural reform. We need a structural reform to boost growth and employment and to include transforming the tax system to make it more sustainable, collectible, and equitable. We have demanded that we want a tax system that widens the tax net and collect from those that continue to evade the tax system. We want one that removes the burden from the poor working class. We need a drastic change, an agenda for recovery and reform, the type of instant action to reclaim and restore confidence in the financial system, to ensure that finance once again serves the real economy, where policy making and investment planning addresses employment goals as well as growth and inflation targets, with an aim to promote sustainable growth and development. This Congress today calls for a transformation of the public sector to make it cost efficient and productive. There is absolutely no way that the private sector can be effective without a vibrant and efficient public sector. And today I want to commend the workers in the public sector for the tremendous work that they have been doing. The consultations that we have had with our delegates and the membership has called for some radical changes, and our delegates have unequivocally and unambiguously directed that radical changes need to take place in the labor market, the type that is focused and geared towards increased productivity and competitiveness. In 2009, the economic crisis cost thousands of workers their jobs and forced hundreds of more workers to work part-time or leave the workforce altogether. Today, our members are saying that we want to be part of the change to restore the economy. Let us make the radical changes to improve the economy. But we have recognized that if the government is serious, it also has a fundamental role to play. There can be no change or transformation if we don't transform the way we do business. We need investment. We need growth. We need to reaffirm that Jamaica is the place to do business. But if as a nation we are to seriously and ardently pursue this agenda, the BITU is strongly suggesting that we must reduce impediments and bureaucracy to facilitate modern, strategic, and currently available investment opportunities. The Congress believes that the Jamaican government and the private sector should step up its action geared towards changing the way we do business. Talk is cheap. It is time to demonstrate serious pursuit of the changes which are required. Let's be brutally frank. We are where we are because of flagrant, irresponsible business practices. Colleagues, we need to change, and the change is needed now. Delegates, I say to you today that there can be no success to a turnaround if workers and their well-being are not placed in the core of this recovery plan. There can be no success if we do not fully engage the workers and their trade unions as part of the development and cognitive decision-making process. Jamaica is currently a country that is just existing. It's not growing. Our workers for many years have made sacrifices upon sacrifices. But what has been that return? More work, higher prices, increases, and more taxes. We need the radical change now. This country has embarked on calling for a partnership. And we support partnership. But we cannot support a partnership where there is no evident plan by the government to create sustainable employment opportunities and restoration of employment for those workers who have lost their jobs in the crisis. Their jobs must be restored. We cannot support a partnership if the government does not work towards improving legislations directed on protecting the health and safety of our workers. The occupational safety and health legislation must be enacted without further procrastination. We cannot support a partnership if the government and employees do not widen the debate on pension reform to include those not benefiting from pension arrangement, especially those workers in the hotel and tourist industry. Colleagues, I'm telling you that today, the focus on the government on pension reform must change. We cannot support a partnership if the government is afraid to commit to pursuing measures to protect certain workers with precarious jobs, especially in the security industry. Promises of a GIC or any other arrangement to which concerns in this regard can be appropriately and adequately addressed must become a reality. Government must respect, recognize, and treat with the fact that the terms and conditions of employment are unfair, unbearable, and warrants immediate change. The BITU will not support a partnership if this government continues to willfully ignore our members in the finance sector. For too long, we have made the call for changes in regulations on the tax on concessionary loans. We are prepared to partner with the Bankers Association of Jamaica to effect the necessary change. But if the change aren't made in line with the present economic environment, we will have no alternative but to take matters in our own hands. Colleagues, it appears that our pleas to the government are falling on deaf ears and on unconscionable hearts. But we will make the necessary noise to ensure that those deaf ears will hear. We will make the noise to ensure the change. We cannot support a partnership if our government does not create an opportunity to exercise pressure and promote compliance with our laws and labor standards to foreign investors. We need foreign investment. We welcome investors such as Chinese. In fact, the BITU believes that in some regards, we can learn and benefit from the Chinese way of doing things. But our government must protect our labor standards and ensure that our employment policies and practices are not only adhered to, but that they demonstrate a respect for the rights of our workers. We welcome investment, but this Congress is making a call today that the unions must participate from day one in the discussions between the Ministry of Labor and especially foreign investors on issues relating to work permits. The unions ought not to be reduced to mediating preventable disputes after the fact. It is important as a country that we preserve our labor standards. They are compared as being amongst the best in the world, and especially set against current unemployment levels. The jobs of our workers within the construction industry must be ardently protected. Colleagues, we cannot support a partnership if the self-sacrifice, loyalty, and commitment demonstrated by our public sector workers during the time of austerity is not restored. I want to be absolutely clear in the position of the BITU. The government of Jamaica takes for granted that these workers have had to endure the hardship they face during the critical time of restraint. If there is no return to the workers on that investment, then the government would have failed those workers miserably. And going forward, we recognize that we will have some tough challenges, at least for the next 3 years. We offer our delegates hope. It is not over for the workers. But I say this to you, delegates. You have a critical and significant part to play to assist in restoring this country's economy. In fact, you have an obligation to be more productive, to be more efficient in the execution of your duties. You have an obligation to exercise discipline and promote service excellence in the workplace. You are part of the BITU, and we are confident that you can do it. I want you to understand that as delegates of the Bustamante Industrial Trade Union, you are charged with leading by example, and this is part of the call for radical changes that you are duty-bound to execute. The BITU's mission is to be an independent, viable trade union and provider of labor services, committed to equal opportunities, providing high-quality service to improve the quality of life of its members and the Jamaican workforce. This mission embodies our mandate to you, to the working class of Jamaica, and to the nation. It is suggested that our team for the next Congress will be breaking through, beating down the barriers. And if we have to do just that to effect the turnaround to growth and radical changes we are speaking about today, we are going to do just that. We are going to do it for the progress of our nation, its workers. We will beat them down. Colleagues, I need your undivided attention because this is a critical moment. If you believe that there is need, if you believe that there needs to be a total overhaul of Jamaica's entire tax system, demonstrate this by raising your hands.
That's right, that's right, that's right. That's right. That's exactly, man. That's right, that's right.
If you support us calling, demanding from the government a comprehensive labor market reform which focuses on education, training, raise your hands. Delegates of this 75th anniversary conference, if you agree that we need a structural reform that promotes growth, employment, investment planning, one that reduces impediments, bureaucracy, but focuses on occupational safety and health, one that addresses inadequacies in government policies and legislating while promoting decent employment and a turnaround to national growth, please stand up. I want to place on record at the 75th anniversary conference, the BITU's mandate has